Hello, Goodreads here. Let's talk about a history lesson about the guns, empires, and Indians. A history lesson about multilateral imperial politics triggering an indigenous arms race, leading to the violent transformation of Native America. It has become commonplace to attribute the European conquest of Americas to Jared Diamond's triumvirate of guns, germs, and steel. Germs refer to plague, measles, flu, whooping cough, and especially the smallpox that whipsawed through indigenous populations, sometimes with a mortality rate of 90%. The epidemics left survivors ill equipped to fend off predatory encroachments either from indigenous or from European peoples who have seized captives, land, and plunder in the wake of these diseases. Guns and steel, of course, represent Europeans' technological prowess. Metal swords, pikes, armor, and firearms, along with ships, livestock, and even wheeled carts, gave European colonists significant military advantages over Native American people wielding bows and arrows, clubs, hatchets, and spears. The attractiveness of such goods also meant that Indians desired trade with Europeans, despite the danger the newcomers represented. The lure of trade enabled Europeans to secure beachheads on the east coast of North America and make inroads to the interior of the continent. Intertribal competition for European trade also enabled colonists to employ divide and conquer strategies against much larger indigenous populations. Diamond's explanation has grown immensely popular and influential. It appears to be a simple and sweeping teleology providing order and meaning to the complexity of the European conquest of the Western Hemisphere. The guns, germs, and steel perspective has helped further understanding of some of the major forces behind globalization, but it also involves a level of abstraction that risks obscuring the history of individuals and groups whose experiences cannot be so aptly and neatly summarized. Invoking guns, germs, and steel, or Alfred Crosby's order catchphrase virgin soil epidemics of 1976 as a blanket explanation for colonial American history can fundamentally misrepresent the historical experience. It can both raise the experiences of some native peoples that did not adhere to these schemas and reduce the staggering violence that Euro Americans inflicted on native people to a kind of overdetermined background noise. At a time when people are debating the nature and origins of globalization and the making of meaning of modern American society, we need a careful and more sophisticated understanding of this crucial chapter in history. Similarly, thinking of Indians as pawns in a fixed game overlooks how many of them harness colonial forces to their own agendas for greater or lesser periods of time. Many native people carried out lives for themselves and the destructiveness and degradation of Euro American rule. Scholarship is uncovering the myriad ways that Native people addressed the ruin of epidemic disease. These responses include binding together with previously distinct communities to form more viable tribal groups or confederacies, raiding neighboring peoples for captives of butchers and their populations, instituting quarantines to check subsequent outbreaks, and experimenting with Christianity or new native religious rituals in search of spiritual succor. Through such measures, some groups, the Cherokees, Iroquois, and Blackfeet, for example, not only managed to rebuild their numbers, but probably grew more powerful than before. European technological superiority, particularly in terms of guns, cannot serve as a blanket explanation for Euro Americans' ultimate triumph over native North Americans. In early Quebec, Jamestown, and Plymouth, colonists held an advantage in firearms only for a handful of years before native people began building their own arsenals. The founders of later colonies, such as Pennsylvania or Georgia, arrived to find indigenous people already furnished with the best gun technology Europe could produce and keen to acquire more. Except under the rarest circumstances, no one state authority had the ability to choke Indians off from guns, powder, and shot. There were just too many rival imperial powers and colonies for North America. Their governments were weak, and the trade ran through a labyrinth of unofficial channels, such as itinerant fur traders, native middlemen, and smugglers. Indians often wielded better weapons than Euro-Americans, including their armed forces. Europeans and later white Americans controlled the manufacturing of firearms technology, but their leaders exercised little authority over its distribution in Indian country. Macro historical analyses such as diamonds cannot fully account for this history. It was a product on the ground politics of individual and groups, including indigenous people, making decisions. Their actions created a word awash in guns, and with it, waves of terrible gun violence. So that's pretty much it for your history lesson. Let me know what you think, comments below. Don't forget to thumb up the video, subscribe to my YouTube channel for more videos, and have a blessed day and see you next time.